New to felt flower making? Here is 5 easy felt flowers to cut by hand. And stick around to the end to get a bonus stem. Before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe so that you do not miss any felt flower tutorials or making or tips and tricks and whatnot, because we are coming out with videos once a week. So be sure to hit that notification bell also so you're in the know in the felt flower world. All right, let's go ahead and do our first flower. So this is gonna be kind of like a lavender flower. So we are gonna grab some purple. Things that we're gonna need right off the bat when we're going to be hand cutting. You definitely want a cutting mat, you definitely want a good ruler, and you want a good rotary blade. Okay, so for the lavender flower, what I like to do is do an inch wide of material. You can do it shorter, you can do it longer, but we're gonna do an inch by 12 inches. And the reason I'm doing 12 inches is because my sheets of felt come in 12 by 18 sheets. So it's just really, really easy to just do 1 inch, and I know it's already 12 inches long. The next thing we're gonna do is go grab our handy dandy glue. I love my SureBonder glue gun. That is another tool that you're definitely gonna need, is some glue and some glue sticks, because how are you gonna glue your flowers together without it? SureBonder is probably the best gun I have. I have the fine detail tip, and that just makes sure the glue doesn't go crazy and everywhere, and you're putting the right amount of glue where you need it. Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit of glue, and I'm just gonna go, I don't know, a few inches here. You don't wanna go too far or your glue's gonna set before you can work with it. And then we're just gonna simply fold our strip in half, like so. And then you're just gonna work your way all the way down. This is a very, very flexible stem. So if you want this to be wider, you can make it wider. Okay, once you have your strip glued all the way down, oops, missed a spot. We're going to take our small little scissors and we're going to make little snips going down. So at the top, I'm going straight, and as I start moving down, I'm gonna start angling it going out. I am just kind of making them evenly snipped pieces. You could make them wider, you could make them shorter. It's definitely going to affect the way your flower looks. I am doing, I don't know, not that wide. This is just where practice comes in, and making it a bunch of times comes in, and you'll get a feel and a rhythm for how you want your flower to look. Okay, so now we have it completely fringed all the way down, and we're gonna grab a wire. I love using 18 gauge wire for all of my flower stems because it is sturdy enough that it's not gonna just fall over with the weight of your felt and your flower, but you can still bend and manipulate it into the direction you want it. Okay, so the way we're gonna start here is we're just going to apply a little bit of glue right at the top here and put our wire here. And I'm just rolling it over really, really tightly and just holding it until our glue sets. So what I like to do before I start adding glue is kind of do like a dry fit to it. Like in woodworking, you want to make sure that, you know, the piece of wood fits before you go and glue and nail and, you know, screw it in. So what I like to do is I like to start wrapping it around just so that I can get an idea of how the flower is going to look and where I need to put my glue before the glue is there and you're like, I'm committed, and oh shoot. So I kind of got an idea. So this is basically what we're going to do. We're going to be rolling the felt down tightly, and this fringe is going to be gluing almost to itself the other half, and then it's going to make a lavender stem. So we're going to work slowly here because we want to make sure that it lands perfectly. So we're going to put some glue right around that base and tightly roll it around. Now I'm starting to put the glue kind of on the fringe a little bit and tightly rolling it like so. So we're kind of doing both just right on the bottom of your fringe line. And I'm placing and making sure that my fringe is landing just right, as well as the glue. So this is where it gets kind of fun and flexible. You can literally stop here, you can keep going and go as far as you want with your fringe and your lavender. And this is why I like it when you angle it a little bit. It just definitely helps on your turning. Make sure you're holding your stem tightly. You definitely don't want this to unravel. This is actually probably, it feels like a really, really simple flower, but for some reason in my brain, I've always struggled with making this stem. So don't beat yourself up. I don't know, for some reason, my brain doesn't work that well making this kind of flower. Go slow, take your time, and just practice on making it. Okay, so I'm just gonna, so now you kind of have this open little ball at the bottom. I'm gonna put some glue in it and just pinch it shut. Ooh, and don't burn your fingers. And now you have a lavender. All right, let's move on to our next flower. And by the end of this, you'll have a sweet little bouquet to put somewhere in your home. All right, the fun part is picking colors. I just grabbed a bunch of colors that I thought looked good together. So now we're doing this raspberry color and we are going to make a rolled flower. So this one, we're gonna go ahead and cut a 4 by 4 inch square. Okay, cut, cut, cut. Okay. So now you have a 4 by 4 square. We're gonna take our bigger scissors because what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a circle out of this. All right, so now we're gonna go and make a circle. So I like starting with a square because then you can kind of follow the guidelines to make a perfect circle, or you know, as close as enough to a perfect circle as you can. If you want, catch my how to get started in hand cutting felt flowers video, and that will definitely help start, give you a few extra tips and tricks on hand cutting. So I'm literally just rounding my corners, like so. Now it's not a perfect circle, but it's actually a pretty darn good circle. Sometimes my circles are really, really good and I'm really impressed with myself. Okay, so now we're gonna make a rolled flower. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut in and we're gonna start making like a snail spiral. Depending on your flower and the thickness of the height of it and more flare, you're gonna wanna play around with this one, and that'll definitely decide how deep and how thick you want your spiral to be. I'm gonna go about a 1/2 inch, but you could play around. You can do a bigger circle, smaller circle, and play with the widths. And I'm just gonna go ahead and make a snail here. So when you're finishing it off, you kind of want a nice little circle almost, and that's gonna be the finisher on the bottom. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. So don't go all the way in here. Okay, so if you remember at the front, when we first came in, it's got this weird little lip right here. So we just need to come back in and just even that out and take that off. And now we have this little, yeah, oh, it's a little snail. All right, the other thing I like to do is just make this flat. So I'm gonna show you this basic rolled flower and then I'll show you a fun little way to make it a little bit more fun. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start at the end here and we're gonna roll it on itself. So I'm actually not doing glue yet. I'm gonna do glue, I get it started and then I'm gonna do a little glue at the base. Now, if you wanna throw glue around the whole thing, you certainly can, or you can just do it periodically. The more glue you put at the bottom, the more thicker at the bottom it'll be, but no worries. We're just gonna keep rolling, rolling, rolling. Also make really, really fun centers for flowers if you wanted to do something like that. Okay, so now we've rolled all the way around. The very last rolls, it starts getting looser and looser, which I like, and I'm actually gonna pull some of these out just to give it a little bit more little funsies. Okay. So we get to the bottom, and then this is where we're gonna throw a bunch of glue right in our center, and this is gonna hold everything together. Like that, and that's what's gonna hold your bottom. And this is when we can kind of spread and move them around. And now you have a sweet little flower here. So let's get another stem, and we are going to use our little pliers, make a little table base here. And throw some glue on it. We can add a little fun leaves, but I will show you how to add the leaves at the end. So we'll do some extra leaves to make it all fancy and good. Let's see. Now you have a nice little rolled rose flower. Like I said earlier, here is another way to do that exact same flower, but add a little pizzazz. So we'll do the same thing, make our circle. And now, instead of going a straight line all the way around, we're gonna kind of ziggy-zag it. Like so. And then we're gonna take off this spot just like we did before and do the exact same thing when we roll it, and I'll show you the difference. I won't glue this one, but you can see, you know, I will glue it. But I'll just roll it real quick. Glue it at the end. We rolled it, glued it. Same flower, just a little bit more dynamic. The more little ridges and bumpers that you put in it, the more crazy it'll be. Okay, so the next flower we're gonna make, I'm gonna use this fun coral shape. And we're gonna go ahead and cut 2-inch squares here. We're gonna cut 6 of them. Oh, we're getting a little crazy here. We're doing more petals. All right, we're gonna progressively get a little bit more and more challenging. This is probably one of the most challenging though. So I guess that's a lie. We'll get a little bit easier. Okay, so we have 6 2x2 squares, and we are gonna cut them all into circles. Okay, so we've got our 6 circles, and I'm gonna go back to my smaller scissors here, and we're gonna go ahead and cut 5 snips all the way around. So we are going, now I'm gonna go to the center. We're probably going, I don't know, how far is that? 3/4 of an inch in? And it's all subjective to the size of your flower. So we're just gonna make 5 snips here, roughly about the same. And we're gonna do this on all of them. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start kind of in the middle of one of our one of the exposed opposite triangle pieces of the pie. And we're gonna just round off our petals. And just take your time and just really roll. You wanna roll your material, not your scissors, to get a good, nice, clean cut. And then just take your time and practice this. Once you get a hang of it, it becomes really easy. And then we're gonna go so I've just flipped it over, and now I'm doing the exact same thing on the other side of the flower. Okay, so we're just gonna make 6 of these 5 pointed flowers. All right, so I've got all of them cut out. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my wire again. Now you don't have to use a wire, but I am putting them all on stems, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna make another little tabletop, and I'm gonna string it through one of our flowers. And this is gonna help sandwich the flower onto our wire. Okay, The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of put a little bit of glue in the middle of these, and then we're just gonna smush them. It's gonna make a nice little frilly look. And this is again why they don't need to be perfect, because we're smushing them all together. You could also use this shape for so many different things though, so many different flowers. I mean, look at this just as it is right here. You could just throw a little felt ball there, another little center, and you have a little daisy. Now we have 5 of these little flower floofs. So we're gonna get our base here. We're gonna put a generous amount of glue right in the middle here. And we're gonna start layering these, and we're gonna do 4 around here, like so. Then we're gonna throw some glue right in the middle and pop this guy right there. And then get rid of all these dang spider webs because they're so obnoxious. So it's kind of like a little pom-pom flower. This could be like a mini hydrangea or a little pom-pom flower. This would actually be really cool if you made a bunch of them in this size and kind of put them together to make this really big pom-pom flower. I don't know, I'm getting inspired already on all the fun ways that you could do something with a flower this size. I don't know, maybe I'll come up with something. In fact, I have another video if you want to check it out on how to make tons of different flowers with simple shapes. So go check that out if you want some inspiration and just like looking at things a little bit differently and just being inspired by different techniques and ways and different flowers that you can do with a very simple shape. So go check it out. This flower actually really reminds me of the, what's that movie? Horton Hears a Who, and it's the little, where the Whos live on the clover. Kind of looks like the clover in Horton Hears a Who, and it makes me happy. Next flower, we're gonna make a fun little daisy. Okay, so it's kind of like a mustardy, this is my euphoric gold color, which I really love. So for this one, we're gonna go ahead and make a center strip here, and we're actually gonna make this very similar to the lavender, but we're not gonna fold it over. So let's go ahead and make this about 3/4 of an inch wide. This is 5 inches long. So we're gonna go ahead and make our center. So we have this, and instead of folding it, we're just gonna go ahead and make the snips without folding it. You can go really deep and your flower centers will kind of really fan out, or you can go really shallow and they'll stay really tight. You can just kind of practice, try both, and see kind of what feel you like. Or if it's like this flower, I want a tight fringe, and then another flower, you want a looser one, then definitely play around with that. So I'm just moving and working my fringe over. Like so. So now we have our fringe. We're gonna go ahead and put some glue along the base and then just tightly roll it. Finish the rest off. I like to do about halfway and then I kind of finish it off here. Okay, so that is our center. Let's go ahead and make our petals now. So I'm gonna get this buttercup color. I'm really excited about putting these yellows together. Okay, so I think for these, I'm looking at my base and how high I want my petals to come up. So I'm gonna do a 1/2 inch wide here. And then as far as the width, I think I want to do about 1 inch wide. So we're gonna cut 12. I don't know if we're gonna need 12, but we're gonna, just in case. We can do 2 layers of 6, you could do 3 layers of 4. Just kind of depends on how you want your flower to be. I think we're gonna start with 12 and we'll kind of dry fit it on and then we'll see what happens. But I want you to kind of keep in mind too that just because each flower can be completely different and it's totally up to you, and that's the joy of hand cutting and figuring it out. Okay, actually I'm gonna use my big scissors. So this leaf shape that I'm gonna make is gonna be super simple. We're just gonna make a point and go all the way around and kind of round off our top and then come right down to a point. So I didn't actually make a point, and that's fine because what we're gonna do is this is gonna be the base of our petal anyways, you're not gonna notice it. So as long as you get that rounded piece, you're doing a good job. So I'm gonna come back here and just fix that. So you can go the way I was going, or you can start at the top and we can like round this side and go down, and then flip it, round this side and go down. So, however you feel comfortable cutting your flowers. So now let's start assembling our flower. So there's a few different ways you can do this. We can glue and pinch all of our petals ahead of time, or you can just layer them on like so. I really like doing my first layer. I like to pinch them on. This kind of a petal where it's pinched versus just a flat just definitely makes it give the petal a little bit more prettiness. And I mean, in nature, that's kind of how it looks too. So let's pinch 6 of them. I'm not going to pinch all of them because our second layer is not really that important to have them pinched because you won't see it and you won't notice it. So I think our first layer will do 6 petals, and then our second layer will do 6 petals. We're just going to go ahead and add some glue to that bottom tip. And I'm not going all the way down either. I'm kind of lining up that little, the squeezy part to kind of close to the top here. Okay, so since we're doing 6 petals, we can do this symmetrically. So I like to place my first one and then place the second one directly across. And then these 2, we're gonna fill in one right here and one right there, and then do the same on the other side. You could also, because they're hand cut, you could easily scale these flowers to make them bigger or smaller too, which is kind of like a really, really great quality of hand cut flowers. Whereas if you're machine cutting them with like a Sizzix and die cutting, like you're stuck with the shapes. Okay, so that last petal is on there. So this one we're literally gonna put right between the first layer here, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue and just tack it onto the bottom there. Okay, so here it is. So as you're doing it, you'll definitely like smash your center a little bit, and what I do is I'll just take something sharp and small and just kind of go back in there and reflip it. So you can do 2 things with this. If you're, depending on your project, you can leave it like this and you can slap it on your wood sign, your wreath, or whatever, maybe a garland, or we can put it on a stem to kind of make a bouquet. So I'll go ahead and do this, and then I'll show you at the end how I finish it off. And while I'm doing this would be a great reminder for you to hit that like and subscribe button so you're not missing any fun flower tutorials and crafts. Okay, so we're just gonna stick that guy right there. Okay, let's work on our last flower, and then stick around because I'm gonna show you how to put bases on your flowers and a bonus item at the end. Okay, so for the next one, I'm gonna use this tea leaf felt blue color, and I've already cut these down to 2 inches by 175, but I'm gonna go a little bit smaller. So I had these already cut. Ooh, scissors. So when I'm doing it, if you want this flower bigger or smaller, you can definitely use the full width of this, but I'm gonna go a little bit smaller to match my other flowers that I made. And this one I'm gonna do kind of like almost like a heart-shaped flower petal here. But I'm leaving a very big baseline. So I'm not doing like a full heart, I'm just doing like the top is kind of like a heart almost. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut 2 at a time. And again, I'm not using the full piece of my felt right now because I want my petals a little bit smaller. So I've cut 10 petals here, but I think I might only need 8, but we will check it out here in a second when we kind of dry fit it all together. So I'm also going to use this felt ball. This is a 15mm felt ball for our center. So if you don't have felt balls around, you can go check out my shop, link below, and you can snag a bunch of different colors in felt balls. Or don't forget the 2 different centers that we made. You could make a center like this one. You could even make a rolled center, but just make it significantly smaller and just stop like here-ish. You could also make basically the same center like this, but with this fringe shape, but just don't bring it down, and that's a whole nother center. Or you could even make one little floofy like this, just one floof, and use that for a center, and then bring your petals around it too. Lots of different options here if you don't have access to felt balls right now. I'm gonna use this gold for my center again too, and we are gonna do, since it's a smaller felt ball, the smaller flower, we're gonna do 3/4 of an inch wide on this one, and we're gonna do another fringe on here. So you can do, again, you can do a fun little fringe like this. You could do the folded fringe around the felt ball. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but lots of different options that you can do. So again, think outside of the box, and each flower can be slightly different with just adjusting tiny little details, and they really do put off completely different looks. So we're not gonna need this whole thing to go around, but we're basically gonna roll this around our flower. Let's do two. Let's do 2 loop-de-loops. Actually, we'll just use the whole thing and wrap around twice. If you didn't want to wrap around twice, you could just trim it right there and just do it once. Totally up to you. And that's the fun thing. You get to do whatever you want because they're your flowers. And it's whatever look that you want to achieve. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish wrapping this guy. Here's another little center for a flower. So now we're gonna get our petals, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put them on here. Let's just go for it and see how many fit around well. So for this one, I'm gonna do a big chunk of glue around the base, and when we put this on our center, before the glue sets, we're actually gonna pinch it, and it kind of gives it that nice little flared. On the daisy, we pinched the petals before we added them. This time we're gonna pinch the petals after we apply it. This just makes it significantly easier to get that pinched look and attach it to your middle base without it being difficult, because if you pinched this like this, then you have a very, very dramatic kind of pinch look, and we just kind of want a subtle pinch look. So I'm gonna kind of dry fit. So I got one on here, and that's super helpful. And then I'm gonna kind of like figure out how many petals we can fit. And I think we can definitely do 5. Okay, so we're gonna go for it. We're gonna use all 10. So I'm gonna overlap and pinch. Grab another one. And we're gonna do the same thing all the way around. Overlap and pinch. And then we have a perfect little gap for our last petal here. Put it right there and pinch. And then I'm gonna take, for our second layer here, I'm not really gonna pinch these ones, but we're gonna put them right in between, and I'm just kind of folding it into the crevices here, just really making sure that glue is. And I'm kind of actually pulling it back a little bit, so there's a little bit of gap between the petals. Instead of them just being all very flat and sandwiched, we kind of want them to gap, just so that you can see all of the dimension in your flower. We're just gonna keep going and layering these in the back between the top layer. I'm really digging the colors. They're all super fun and bright and cheerful. Okay, and then again, I'm gonna grab my scissors and just refloof center, and that is a technical term of refloofing. So again, you can leave it like this. You can attach it to a wire. You can attach just this to, you know, boards, wood signs, anything. Make a garland out of it. It could be super fun. So I'm gonna make another little tabletop here for our flower. Throw some glue and attach it to the bottom. I'm gonna quickly show you how to make a leaf stem so that we can just finish this bouquet off really, really well. I'm also gonna show you how I make little bases for all my flowers, just to kind of clean up the bottom so you're not seeing this, and it kind of just really sandwiches everything together and just really finishes things if you have them on stems. Let's go ahead and finish the bases for our flowers first. Let's do about this size. This is my technical term of this size. I'll measure it for you in a second. These do not have to be perfect, but what is this? This is about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, little squares. And that's just relative to the flowers that I have here. You can definitely make them bigger or smaller. So what I like to do is kind of make a 4-pointed leaf. And all I'm doing is taking this end as my leaf and curving in. I'm not going all the way to the center, but leaving about a good chunk in the middle. And then I'm flipping it and turning it and making a bottom. And I'll do this 3 times because I've got 3 flowers that we need to finish off. And then I'll go ahead and we'll do a nice little leaf stem. Okay, so now I have all of my leaf bases, and we'll grab a flower here, and I'm just gonna twist the stem through. Kind of makes a little hole. And then right here, I'm just gonna put some glue on the leaves. And we're gonna line it all the way up and really just push this down. So I do this for a couple of reasons. So this, it just kind of helps finish off the bottom of the flower, and it just makes it look cleaner and more complete. And then also it sandwiches this wire between 2 pieces of felt, like your flower and then this piece of felt, and it just helps give longevity to your flower, so it doesn't, that glue will never break down and fall apart. It just gives it more security. So we're gonna do the same thing on our rolled flower. Just go all the way up. And then this one, I like the idea of having just kind of the leaves coming off a little bit. So it just feels like this is a little rosebud. And then we'll do the same with our daisy to get a nice little base on our daisy. So let's make our last bonus stem and finish off this little bouquet that we just made. So I've got some green here, from that same green, and we're gonna make some leaves. Do this 1 3/4 inches, do 1 1/4 inches wide. You just kind of want like a good solid rectangle here. And then same way that we cut our daisy petals, we're gonna go ahead and cut these, but this time we're gonna prioritize this point because that's our leaf point. And then just really round the bottom, come back to a point. Like so. So I have 3 leaves. I'm gonna grab another piece of wire here, and this is just a pinch leaf. I have another video too on several different ways on to make and glue leaves for a different look, and this is just my pinch leaf technique. But if you wanna go crazy and figure out another technique, I have lots of other options. This is 18 gauge wire. This is 22 gauge wire, so it's a bit thinner and more flexible. And then we're gonna take our 2 remaining leaves and glue on both sides of this wire. And if you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll see this technique used over and over and over again. I do most of my leaves this way. So now that that's secure, we're gonna take our small wire here and then tightly wrap it around here for a cute little leaf stem. That just helps finish off all your flowers. So let's go ahead and just assemble our new little bouquet that we just made. So I've got a cute little jug here, and we'll just kind of throw our little flowers. This I would totally love to make a few more leaves, but you know, that's okay for now. But yeah, there you go. Especially if you made a few more leaves for here and just had a cute little jug of flowers. You could do a few more, throw this one in there. But how cute and fun is this, just on your counter or your desk, or you could use these techniques and make them for a wreath or a little garland. So many options that you can do with hand cutting flowers. So I hope this helps. I hope this kind of takes a little bit of intimidation out when making felt flowers and seeing how easy that you can do them at home with little to no supplies. Just make sure you've got good pairs of scissors, glue gun, you know, a good cutting mat with rotary tool. Even if you don't have this, you can still cut it out by hand. Don't let anything stop you with having all the big fancy toys and stuff. You can still create beautiful flowers without all of that. So thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell because we do have videos coming out weekly, and comment below which one was your favorite. So thank you guys. See you next time.